أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in His glorious book in Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2 verses 215 بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل ما أنفقتم من خير فللوالدين والأقربين واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل وما تفعلوا من خير فإن الله به عليم. They ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what they should spend. Say, whatever you spend of good is to be for parents and relatives and orphans and the needy and the traveler. And whatever you do of good, indeed Allah is knowing of it. So we as human beings are in constant motion. And this motion brings about questions and brings about situations that require advice. We don't know everything. So, there are many things we don't know. So when you care about something, you ask. This is, until the picture is very clear and all the ambiguity is resolved. So the word yas'alunaka, they ask you, it's a sign of the righteous believer that he asks. Until the matter is very clear. Is this lawful or is this unlawful? Will this please Allah or will it anger Him? Will He accept it from me or will He not accept it from me? These are questions that we have to have answers for. So not asking can mean two things. One is the matter is very clear, so there's no point in asking, or you don't care. When you don't care, you don't ask. So religious advice is one of those things that are given freely. Nothing in this world other than religious advice is given freely. You go to a doctor, you go to a lawyer, you go to whoever to ask for an opinion, they expect you to pay. Except Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and the knowledgeable and the scholars. They give that freely. So ask. If you don't know something, ask. It's not going to cost you anything. So the companions radiallahu anhum were asking the Prophet about the best way to spend. Because the Sahaba, they wanted to maximize their gain. They know they have a limited time and limited effort. So when they do something, they want to get the best reward out of it. And that's how we should be. If you can make da'wah, which is good, and removing trash off the street is also good, but there's a big difference in reward between doing one and doing the other. So you always have to think for yourself, is what is the action that's going to give me the maximum reward? So this is where the asking comes into play. You want the highest return. Spending is a comprehensive term. In our mind, we may think of it as money, spending money. It's much, in the Quran, it's a much bigger term than spending money. Spending, in the verse it says, yunfiqun. Yunfiqun what? It was left open. It's open-ended. Spend from whatever Allah gave you. So you can spend from your wealth, you can spend from your expertise, you can spend from your strength, from your knowledge, from your position, from your eloquence, from your power of persuasion, whatever Allah gave you, and Allah did give every one of us something. Nobody can claim that I do not have anything to spend. You have something to spend. Maybe your face the smile on your face brings happiness to people. Spend from it. Allah gave you many things. Spend from them. So when you spend, you defy your nature. And that's where the reward comes. Because if spending, aligned with your nature, what is the reward? Everybody would spend because you like it. But spending, your nature says, withhold. It's mine. I don't want to share. And Allah says, share it. Share it. That's where you get the reward. Sleeping, you don't get reward for, but getting up from your sleep to make prayer, you get reward for because your nature wants you to sleep. So whenever you go against your nature to obey Allah, there is a reward involved. So spending is a proof of your faith. That's why the root of sadaqah, when you give a charity, sadaqah is from sadaqah, from to confirm, to affirm. That's how you prove your faith, by giving. It's not a mental exercise. There is, when you believe, it should translate into action that benefits others. And that's where the term sadaqah comes from. So the verse says, so when they asked, what should we spend? Allah advised the Prophet, say, tell them, قُلْ مَا أَنفَقْتُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ. Whatever you spend of good. So the key word here is khayr. When you spend, it has to be of good. I'm a locksmith. I'm going to go teach you how to break into safes so you can go steal. You're helping somebody, but you're not really doing anything good. So the condition of spending, it has to be khayr. It has to be good. It has to be from good nature and in a good ways. It has to match what Allah approves of and in the manner that Allah approves of. So spending must be good from lawful and in lawful ways. So that's the condition for spending to be accepted by Allah Tabaraka Ta'ala. So spending venues are prioritized in this verse. So you want to spend? Number one for spending channel is falil walidain, your parents. Your parents are the ones the reason for your existence after Allah's creation are your parents. So they are number one when you have to spend. They have the first right in receiving whatever you spend. So Allah puts the categories in orders of importance. So your parents come first. Falil walidain, that's where you start. Wal aqrabin, your extended family, your wife, your children, your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, your nephew, the extended family, and that circle, when the circle is closer to you, like your mother and father, that's very close circle. And then the circle starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger to include everyone who's around you. So aqrabin, the extended family, comes next. Going and helping a stranger when your parents and your family is needy, that goes against the direction of Allah. You take care of your house first, and then you go outwards and help others. The third category is wal yatama, and orphans. The orphans are young children who lost one or both parents. So those, spending on them there are many hadith, many traditions of the Prophet that encourages helping them and spending on them. And it's a great deed. And you can spend money, you can spend affection, you can spend care, you can spend some of your time, spend of your effort. Anything that you can spend to help any of these categories, that's what Allah wants you to do. Spend. Whatever you have, spend. The last category mentioned, wal masakin. The last two, wal masakin, are the ones who are not able to work. Maybe they got a problem, they are unable to work and they cannot support themselves, or their income is not enough. So those are eligible to receive from your spending. And again, spending is not just money. It's anything that Allah gave you that could benefit others. That's a big category. And the last one, wabni sabil. Wabni sabil are the ones who are traveling and then they run into a problem. Maybe they lost their money, maybe they got robbed, and now they're temporarily destitute. They have nothing. So the traveler who is in much need, they are eligible to receive your spending. So if you look at this verse, it lays out social security in Islam. If you think about it, when you take care of yourself, your parents, your family, your extended family, and people around you, and everybody does that, the entire society is taken care of. That's what social security is. You don't look for the government to do that. It's your job, it's everyone's job to take care of themselves and their family and the people in their sphere of influence. So, وَمَا تَفْعَلُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ. And again, spending must be lawful, must be done according to Quran and Sunnah for the intention of pleasing Allah, not to gain notoriety, not so that people would say, oh, mashallah, he's a muhsin, he's a this. No, you do it for the pleasure of Allah, and you do it out of love for others, not because you're kind of forcing. It has to come out of love to please Allah and to help others, and that's where the reward comes from. So a believer is an active and positive force in the society. There is no such thing as a believer who stays at home and doesn't care about what happens around him. A believer is a positive force in the society, a force of good. You seek people who are, when somebody comes and knocks on your door and say, I need help, you should thank Allah that He drove him to your door so you can get a reward from it. Don't look at it as, what are you doing here? You're just kind of, I don't want to deal. No, you look at it as Allah has given you a chance to increase in goodness. That's how you look at it. Now note that the companions did not ask, should we spend or not spend? The verse says, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. Not spending is not even in the picture. You have to spend. The question was, what do I spend and on whom? So not spending is not even a possibility. You are expected to spend. So the question was, spend what and who should receive it? So spend for the sake of Allah and wait for the reward from Him. And the ending of the verse, وَمَا تَفْعَلُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ. Again, khayr comes in, good. Whatever you do of good, because if it's not good, it's not going to accept it. So it has to be good. وَمَا تَفْعَلُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ. It's a reminder that whatever you do, Allah knows it. It's not necessary for others to know what you've done. It's enough that Allah knows that you did a good thing. And that actually should be your whole focus. You shouldn't care about if people recognize it or not, because they're not the ones who are going to give you the reward. Recognition is you don't need it. Recognition of Allah is the one that you want. So if you give your seat on the bus to an old lady, or you avoid stepping on an ant when you're walking outside, or hurting an animal, or whatever you do, it's recorded. It's recorded and Allah knows it. There is no receipt needed. You don't have to provide documentation or proof or anything. It's recognized. Allah knows it. Allah knows what your intention was. Allah knows the effort that you put, the sacrifices that you put, all the things that you went through to do good for the sake of Allah. Allah knows it. Allah knows it, and He will take care of you, and He will reward you for it. So this is what the verse is. Allah wants us to know that He knows. And when you know Allah knows, then you really don't care about what other people say. And it's a great comfort for a believer that knowing that no deed, no matter how small, will ever go unnoticed or unrewarded. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.